Welcome back to Recruiting is No Joke. I am your host, Joel Algie. I'm super excited here. We have another amazing guest for you guys. We've got someone that I've been a fan of on LinkedIn. I think we met for like 2 seconds at a conference. It was the highlight of the conference I was at. But we have a true leader, someone who has led talent acquisition at various sizes for various companies. And we have Glenn Lindley with us. Glenn, welcome to the show. Why don't you give the listeners, for anyone who doesn't know you, quick background on yourself? We like to call it like a Twitter bio. Give us what you got.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for the big up there. That was some great promotion. Thank you, Joe. So
best 2 seconds ever.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm going to send that. I'm going to clip that and send that to my family back in the UK. I'd be very proud. I was just about to say director of TA for HighLevel. I was until Friday. I've actually just finished that gig. I was heading up for GNA GTM recruitments for a CRM company, Hypergrowth in India, knocking out 100 offers a month, all for remote GTM people in India. Prior to that, I had 10 years with Pubmatic, joined as employee about 250, took Pubmatic from 250 up to 1250 through to an IPO.
What does Pubmatic do for anyone that doesn't know?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Pubmatic, advertising technology. You go on a website, you see an advert. A lot of the time it's Google. A lot of the time if it's a very well targeted advert that's kind of tracking around the internet and using data from your search history, your location, and various other variables that are brought in, then hopefully it will have been Pubmatic that put that advert there. So it's kind of a data company combined with an advertising company, making the internet interesting and relevant. So,
yeah, I love it. So you're at Pubmatic for a decade, and then you made the move to, is it HighLevel? What made you switch originally? Like, leaving somewhere after a decade just seems like it seems like a big decision. So like, what kind of led up to that change?
There was a number of small factors. I mean, firstly, 10 years is a crazy long time. In
recruiting, that's like 1,000 years. So
yeah, in tech company, that's crazy. And it was starting to feel amazing company, amazing people, but it was starting to feel stagnant. I joined there as an IC in the UK, taken over EMEA, taken over APAC, moved to a global role, relocated out to the US, then being tied in because I was on an L1 visa for a period. Eventually got my green card, and I got my green card like 2020. When was it blowing up? When was it Meta and Google and everyone?
It's like 2021. Are you talking about the Great Resignation?
Yeah, I was still on my L1 then. And I was getting hit by all these great jobs. And I was like, yeah, I can't move. And then basically when that whole thing died and hiring froze, I got my green card and suddenly there were no jobs. So I had to stay on for an extra year or so. And then hiring at Pubmatic just started to slow down. It's just ended last year with changes in the economy. Hiring went from we had about 200 open roles, and it was then like, okay, let's slow this down while we evaluate the market down to 50, and there were layoffs coming. So I kind of started to explore the market a little bit, and huge, amazing opportunity with HighLevel to go into a fully remote role that was about to, hitting hypergrowth again. So then, unfortunately, the dream of fully remote hypergrowth wasn't quite as I'd hoped for. Just in terms of my job was to manage a team of 11 people in India, hiring 100 people a month in India. And if you look at my profile, you'll notice I'm not in India. I'm in California. So I was basically getting up at 4 a.m., getting onto Zoom calls at 4:30 a.m., back-to-back calls from 4:30 through till 10 a.m. every day. And then nothing to do. 10 a.m. through till 6 p.m. was it was cool for me and the wife. Didn't get kids or anything, but my wife, who finishes work at 12, we had a great relationship. But for my kids who didn't get to see me in the morning and night time, because I'd then get back on to calls at 7 p.m. as India was waking up, and I'd do like 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. I mean, we talked about, do I move to Florida or move to the East Coast? Like, definitely not moving to India. Fantastic people, fantastic country, but just not where I feel I should be living right now. Hopefully I put that in a delicate political way. But yeah, we talked about, do we move to the East Coast? So that just wasn't going to be an option. We kind of love life in California. So spoke to them. There was just no way to fix it. So we decided to end up working like a 8 week notice period, wrapping up the open roles in the US and helping them with a backfill in India. And then it was time to move on. So a couple of final interviews this week. And I think we'll probably talk about the events as well.
But we have a kind of a mixed audience on this podcast, and I think just in general, my audience tends to be a lot of recruiters and a lot of job seekers, and obviously there's a lot of recruiters that are job seekers, so it kind of merges together. Um, what's interesting to me is obviously you parted ways with HighLevel, and you've got these other interviews. What are some thoughts around like how to land interviews for jobs, particularly for recruiters, but really for anyone right now? It seems like with these corporate positions, it's a real challenge. So like, how have you gone about navigating that job search, and what do you see working? Because obviously you've been pretty successful with this over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and it's all on LinkedIn. It's what people are discussing. And I think eventually we'll kind of hit that tipping point where the whole networking and communicating and building relationships it hits that tipping point where it's too much. But I'm still very much an advocate for build a relationship with the team, the hiring manager, engage with what they're doing and the messaging people. And the job of HighLevel, that came from, I've been to a couple of recruiter meetups, recruiter events, and a friend, Grant, he recommended me and introduced me to the chief people officer, who I'd happened to meet at a couple of events as well. And like, that was how I got into that position. The interviews I've got going on at the moment, so I've got sort of 2 finals. One's come via a community group that I'm a member of, a group called Silo. If you're a recruiter, they're worth checking out. Another's come from Hire Community, which is also originally a UK based recruiter community.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Abbas. Come on, Chris is a legend.
Yeah, and so I've had met some great people through that event, through that group, and that's led to a couple of interviews as well. So I think for recruiters, getting involved in those kind of groups and building a network, because it's like the people that are in Hire Community and people that are in Silo, if they'll often post their jobs in there before putting them to job boards, because they know as soon as they go to the job board, there's going to be 1,000 applicants. Actually, I've noticed that going down. Before Christmas, it was 1,000 applicants. Now we're looking at 400 or 500. Definitely, the market's definitely improving. But yeah, reach out to those people and saying like, hey.
Or people have just given up. Like, I actually think a lot of recruiters and people in general, not that they've given up, I think a lot more people have really latched on or given fractional and consulting, that, or developing an offer, maybe doing some coaching. I think a lot more people have thought about, have either thought about it or they've actually just started. I think that could also be contributed to it, which I'd be curious to get your take on that as well. But yeah, like you said, right? They post a job, they get all these applicants. They don't necessarily want to deal with all the applicants. So if you post in a community, you kind of know you're gonna, find people who have that common affinity, the common interest that you have as well.
Yeah, you're hitting your target audience quickly without being overloaded with applicants. You then got to filter through a reply to.
Yeah.
But that's like messaging someone saying, "Oh, I'm in this community. I've seen your posts, so I've engaged with them, or I've met you at an event, and I see you're hiring." Like, that's a far warmer intro than just being another one of 400 or 500 that are applying. Yeah. So, yeah, becoming a part of those communities. I'm also an advocate for messaging hiring managers and recruiters direct on LinkedIn. And I mean, I need to update my LinkedIn actually, since I've just left HighLevel. But I had 4 or 5 messages today from people that are applying for the internal audit role that's open. I just let them know, hey, just exited, great company, follow up with this person, kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
That would have worked. If you've got the right experience that I'm looking for, then you've got to do something to bring yourself above all those other applications.
What's your advice for like messaging? Like, what do you see people doing that works well? And then what do you see that just isn't working well for people as well in your experience? So what's worked for you?
Yeah, don't use AI. Be authentic and post things. The whole I don't even know if it's still there, because I haven't seen many recently, but there was that whole LinkedIn that said, yeah, I had so many messages when I was at Pubmatic that would say, hi, Glenn, I've just applied for the sales executive role at Pubmatic. Your vision of democratizing advertising or something like that really resonates with me. I'm like, it's some kind of buzzword from the website that every single messenger had the same buzzword about the free internet and advertising. And it's like, you've done one click, spam me. And that's not appreciated. But if you're a match for the role, if I'm hiring for a recruiter that's recruiting for ad tech, and you're a recruiter that's recruited for ad tech, then message me and tell me that. And like with the internal audit role at HighLevel, on the JD, it specifically said, we're looking for someone that's taken a company public, that joined pre-IPO and took them through that journey. If that, and has also done it for a SaaS company or a fast growing sort of startup, no longer a startup, but yeah, a company hitting hypergrowth. If that's what you've done, message me and tell me that, because it will help you stand up. It will get you above the pile of resumes. If you've only worked for a big bank and I'm a SaaS company, then you're kind of wasting an in-mail credit by saying, hey, Glenn, I've seen this job. I want to highlight my experience, when it doesn't align for what the company's looking for. So
let me walk through this, because I think this is something which isn't popular, but as someone who's been in recruiting for a decade and talked to a lot, obviously I'm on the agency side, so I talked to a lot of hiring managers. There seems to be a mismatch in what people think qualifies them for a position, from a candidate side, and then what hiring managers are looking for. In your experience, when you're talking about, if you have that right experience and you're qualified, is there a pattern with what that looks like most of the time? Like, what are some kind of high level indicators that would, if you're applying for a job, what are some of the things you should be looking at, whether it's on the job description? I guess job description is all you can really look at, but like, what are the things that you're looking at, or you advise people to look at before they apply to a job that's going to increase their chances of actually getting a call back?
I think for me, it's what does the company actually do, and does it align with what you've done in the past? Not just in terms of skills. And I'll use HighLevel again. It's like internal controls and internal audit is everyone at Big Four. Like there's so many people that have that experience, and we had a lot of applications for that position. And the job description talks about the key skills needed, and it talks about hypergrowth and going public, and someone that's taken a company through IPO. But I did have a lot of people that didn't have that experience on the message. So think about what the company's actually doing, and think about, find ways to bring out examples of, or even if you haven't worked at, if you've come from a big bank, but you worked for PwC and you're going to message me, don't say, hey, I've worked for HSBC Bank and I worked in the audit department. Talk about what you did at PwC and talk about some of the SaaS customers you supported there. Like, if you worked for PwC and you only supported big banking, and then you went into a big bank and you only worked at big banks, you could probably do the job. Like, it's internal audit, it's internal controls, it's attention to detail, it's managing processes. You can probably do that job. But as a company, we're looking for someone that's done that job in a similar environment. So you need to find...
Would you say that across the board, that is how most companies are hiring? They're looking at, we've got a specific job that needs doing. We got to find someone who's previously done the job and done it successfully. Is that how most companies hire?
Unfortunately, yes. There's a lot of talk about, obviously, skills-based hiring and finding people who can grow into roles. But with startups and smaller companies, they're typically looking for someone that has done the same job in a similar environment, or has done one job lower and can grow into a role in a similar environment. And as I say, just because you've only done that for a finance company or a bank or insurance company or government, it doesn't mean you can't do it. But there's going to be a lot of people that have done something identical. And there is a risk factor. There is that concern that if you've only worked in these structured, rigid companies, you might not come in and quickly adapt and move at the pace. And I mean, I look at it from my point of view, like, I've only worked for these rapid growing SaaS companies. And I fully expect, if I apply for a big bank, I fully expect to be looked at and think, this guy's only worked for rapidly growing SaaS companies. He's probably not going to be great with process, and he's going to get frustrated with the speed we move at and the red tape. And you're probably 100% right. I would do, and that's why I don't work for those kind of companies. But that doesn't mean that if you're out of work and you need to find employment, that you're not going to apply for those jobs. You've just got to find ways to bring out that experience that is relevant, and ways to highlight that, I've only worked in banking, but I've done this outside of it, or this is the reason I feel I can adapt, or this is the reason that while I don't have that experience, or this is how I'm going to bridge that gap. And explaining
huge, man.
how you can do it, how you can be successful, even though you don't tick every box on that kind of made up list.
Yeah, look, what you're saying is huge, because I think fundamentally that is how companies hire in the real world. And I think part of the challenge is there's a lot of talk around skills-based hiring. There's countless quotes around hiring for attitude, training for skill. Like, we've just seen a lot of those buzzwords, but in reality, in this job market, my thought is you have to, like you said, you have to really understand what the company is hiring for, what they're doing, and you have to tie in what you've done on your resume, and then even more so once you get to interviews. Because if you don't, you're going to be up against 4 or 5 people who can do that because they have that experience. So, um, yeah, and you have to also balance that then with still applying for enough jobs that you're getting a response. So it's such a I feel like right now it's a quality and quantity game, and that makes it extremely challenging, especially if you haven't been on the job market. That's kind of like applying for jobs. So it sounds like if you're following up, you got to be short with people, like just have a really relevant message, avoiding AI, applying to those right jobs. What about with networking? Like you're in a lot of groups. Like how many talent acquisition networking groups are you in? Because I've seen like a ton that you're involved in. So talk to me about those networking groups, and I'd love to just kind of know like how you approach events and your strategy around approaching events that actually gets you results and conversations that you need to, you know, make your career move forward, job searching. I'd love to kind of dig into that because I think that'd be super valuable.
Yeah, cool. It's not that many. You kind of make it out that all I do is it's
Well, if most people are in zero, you're in infinitely more than that.
yeah.
How many groups you're part of? Like 3, 4?
I think it's 3, 4
Okay.
active. So yeah, we mentioned Hire Community, which is
Yeah.
kind of in the largest global recruiter community. Started off as a group of recruiters in London, going to the pub on a Friday, turned into a global Slack phenomenon. And yeah,
It's awesome.
it's great for learning, great for asking questions. People are just really welcoming, what to talk to you. And then, I mean, basically, you can just be in the Slack group, but they also organize events and meetups. And yeah, they put out some really valuable publications. There's Silo, which started off as just a recruiter community and then became like this recruiter venture fund, where the members get to vote on, so that they'll bring in new recruitment technology products to do demonstrations. And then there's a venture fund where the members can actually vote on, what the potential they see within
It's
this.
awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and they make investments. There's People Tech Partners, which is kind of a more established, again, it's kind of recruiting and HR leadership. And it's a Google community where you can, again, you get so many job recommendations, you get so many requests for help and questions, and people in these communities are just open to helping. Like, yeah, if you go in there and post out a question about an integration issue you're having or a technology problem you're having, there will be someone in there that's done that before, and they'll be able to reply and they'll be able to help you. And again, they do in-person meetups probably 2 or 3 times a year. They've got a completely separate investment arm. They offer product support to recruitment technology companies. Then there's Transform, obviously global HR. I don't know, I was about to say leadership, but I think it's all levels of HR. They have the Transform conference. God, if I miss anyone, I'm going to feel really rude. I think they're the 4 main, yeah, Hire, Silo, Transform, and People Tech Partners. So I think they're the 4 main communities. And then also there's Talk, another great network just for recruiters. So Talk Recruiter Network as well.
So how do when you go to one of these in-person events, what's your approach? Like, because I think that I hear this a lot, right? Especially for job seekers or for recruiters or for business development, right? Like you got to go to network. So like, what's your approach? How have you been successful in those live events? Like how do you prepare yourself? Like what do you look to get out of those events?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think like everyone else, it is just absolutely horrible and I absolutely hate them. You walk into, it's like being at school and like all the boys on this side,
I know, man.
the dance hall's empty, and then all the girls on this side, and you're like, shit, where do I go stand?
And then it's like everyone's having a conversation
and you have
and
to
is really into that conversation.
So the first thing, make sure you know someone that's going to be there. It's so much easier if you turn up with someone or you know someone that's going to be there. You can actually go in and join a conversation. But then you've also, I kind of take the approach that everyone that is there, everyone that's at that event is there to network, to learn, and to make new friends. Like, we're human, we like people. Like, AI is trying to kill us all and take our jobs. Ultimately, we're still people. So we like meeting other people. So I think going in with the assumption that everyone else that's at that event also feels anxious, feels nervous, and doesn't want to make the first introduction, and just being brave and going up and saying, "Hi, I'm Glenn. Can I join your conversation?" And I've even joined and said, "Hey, I don't know anyone here and I feel really awkward. Can I just quietly stand here and pretend to be a part of your conversation?"
But if you don't have an English accent, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
No,
just break the ice. But I think planning to go with someone or making sure you know someone you can join, because when you first walk in and there's all those little groups around little round tables, it is a horrible environment to walk into. And that's kind of why I then started my own recruit. Well, part of the reason, there was a number of reasons. I started my own recruiter community.
Yeah, tell me about that and like how that's come about as well.
Yeah, so towards the end of last year, I've been going to a few events. Oh man, I should have mentioned 4A. 4A are another great industry and recruiter group as well. And so they put on.
You went from like 3 to now you're 6 counting. Just so you know.
Yeah. I'm in too many groups. Okay,
and now you have your own group as well,
yeah.
Which.
So yeah, I've been going to all these various industry meetups and various events, and just kept meeting people. And then right before Christmas, via High Community, and Chris, you mentioned, I took on a position as kind of the community lead for San Francisco, and just started spamming people and saying, "Hey, join this community group. It's great. We chat. There's nice people here." And then we decided to do a meetup for Christmas, and we had about 12 of us turn up, and so I think there's about 16 of us turn up for the first one, and Higher Community and Talentful sponsored it, and Chris came along, and it was great. Got to meet people, see people in real life, talk about the pains of recruiting, talk about the latest tech, talk about how much we love or hate our jobs and our wives and partners and everything else. So I really enjoyed it, and started this new gig with HighLevel, which was fully remote. And it was like, suddenly it's like, wow, I haven't seen a person other than my family for like 4 weeks now. Let's start arranging more meetups. So we kind of just took it social, and a guy that I ran in with, Young, like we said, like, hey, let's do another meetup. So we did another one, same location, and we had about 12, 13 people rock up to it. Then we did one on the East Bay. We had about 10 people turn up. And then, I don't know, do you know Cooler ATS? I was chatting to the guys there.
Yeah.
Awesome tech, well worth looking at. Just like, I know this isn't a sales pitch, but out of all the ATSs I've looked at, everyone knows Ashby, everyone loves Ashby. I think Cooler's probably the main one that's coming close at the moment.
That's cool.
Yeah, Kula. I think they're from Singapore. They messaged me and said, "Hey, like, yeah, if you're going to do another event, can we buy the drinks?" I was like, "Yeah, awesome. We're recruiters. We're all either out of work or trying to buy a house, so that you can pay for the drinks. That'd be sweet." And so I put it on LinkedIn, sent around a message to everyone I know, and we ended up with like 35 of us rocking up to this event.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like there was 35 of us, and Cooler turned up. They bought the food, they paid for the drinks, and it was 2 hours of really good fun, networking, meeting people, and it was a good mix as well. Like we probably had 5 or 6 like in between jobs out of work recruiters that were there to network. There were a few coordinators and sort of TA leads. There were maybe 10 recruitment managers to associate director and 10 VPs. So it was a really good mix of people. It was valuable for Cooler because they got some great introductions from it. And we all got to eat tacos and not pay for it. So that was pretty sweet from mine.
That's always a bliss.
Yeah, I'd put that on LinkedIn, and suddenly a couple of other companies like sort of messaged me and said, "Hey, if you're doing these events, we'll buy the drinks." I'm like, well, okay, sweet. But if you want to buy the drinks, then you can do a bit more than that. So what I'm now trying to build is this new community, and I'm calling it community because I don't have a name at the moment. I'll bounce some ideas off you in a minute.
Call it the realist recruiter community. Just kidding.
Sure, I've seen that. Realist recruiter community. Yeah,
the real community.
So what we're trying to now build is a community that supports everyone within it. I think we've got about 160 people who have now joined the mailing list. And once a month, I just say, hey, these are the meetups. This is what's happening. Click here, join the Eventbrite or the Luma event if you can make it. And so what I've said to companies, and I've just had my first couple of kind of confirmed paid bookings, is if you want to sponsor a TA meetup, it'll cost you $1,500. Of that $1,500, $500 will go to me because it's a good day's work. It takes quite a lot to actually find a venue, put on an event, check the parking, check the food, check the beers, make sure you can tell people where to go. So I take a small cut for organizing it. $500 will go to the community. And that sits in a pot that anyone that's in the community that's out of work can say, hey, actually, I've seen the training course I want to do. It's going to help you find a job. Can I take some money out of that pot? Or, hey, it's got to Christmas and I can't afford presents this year. Can I take some money out? And that money is just there for the members to hopefully help them find work or help them in some way. And then the other 500 can go to whoever organizes the event with me. And so if one of the out-of-work recruiters wants to put some time into scouting venues and save me doing it, and wants to build a guest list and wants to invite people to the community, then they can take a cut of revenue. So the idea is that like all these recruitment tech companies, they get big investments. They've got a lot of money. They're selling to us. So let's let them give a little bit back, put it back into the community, and hopefully help some of these out-of-work recruiters get back into employment.
So if you were one of those like out of work recruiters, you going to an event, how do you, I guess, how do you leverage those connections in the right way? And obviously you don't want to just jump into a conversation and be like, hey, I'm looking for work, but like you want to maximize the time as well. It's like, how do you do you recommend following up with people? Like, what's the best strategy there?
I think network, and this goes the same for our events, and the instructions that I give to the vendors that are sponsoring the events now is that you are here to buy the drinks, pay for the pizza and tacos, and to meet people. If you turn up and spend 2 hours selling to people, firstly, it's going to annoy them because that's not what the community is about. And secondly, they're not going to come to my next event, and that then starts destroying it for me and everyone. So come along, meet the guests, meet the recruiters. Some of them will be out of work. Give them just as much respect as you give the VPs. Spend time getting to know them. And then the next day, follow up, or a couple of days later, hey, it was great meeting you at that event. FYI, this is the platform. And the same goes for the recruiters that are out of work but looking. If you walk up to someone, I can still just about call myself a director of TA. As of Friday, I wasn't.
But still
if you
can,
walk up to me and say,
still can.
And read my badge and say, oh, Glenn Lindley, HighLevel. Hi, I'm Joe and I'm looking for a job. Yeah, I'm probably going to remember you, but not necessarily for the right reasons. Just walk up, engage in conversation, talk to me, share something valuable. Just have an enjoyable conversation. And I know that's hard when the only thing that really matters right now is finding a job to some people. But try and build that relationship and get into conversation and then follow up and say, hey, Glenn, it's great meeting you. I've just seen on your website that you're hiring for a junior recruiter or you're hiring for a recruitment ops person. Hopefully you remember we met last week. Chances are the conversation is going to come around to that earlier. If you're talking to me, I'm going to ask who you're working for. And you can say, oh, I've just left or I'm on the market. And most recruiters, I think, can have some empathy for the way the market is. They're not going to shun you for that. They're going to talk, and if they can help, they'll want to get to know you, because as soon as you say you're looking, they're instantly thinking, okay, I might be hiring, or I might be hiring in 6 months' time. Let's get to know this person, because that can be an easy hire without me having to go through 1,000 applicants. So I don't think there's many heads of TA that are going to judge people. But just walking up, shaking hands, saying I'm looking for a job is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's the same approach online, right? Like we were talking about messaging people. It's that same approach. Like I get a lot of messages from people with just a resume attached, and it's 3-4 paragraphs. And I'm not saying like my time is, super valuable or anything crazy like that, but just simply based on time, if I get 50 of those messages a day, I just don't have the time to like read through everybody's story. So it's that same idea, whether you're online, whether you're in this community, in the Slack channel, it's the same thing. It's about building those real connections. We talked a little bit about technology just then. I'd be curious to hear from you. Like what are you excited about on just the tech front as a whole? And I know you mentioned like how to not use AI when it comes to messaging, but is there anything you're really excited about tech-wise for recruitment, for job search, and just for like work in general right now that you're, I'm sure I know that you've looked at lots and lots of different tools because you posted about it before on LinkedIn. Is there anything that you're really, really excited about that you think maybe is being underutilized? And again, this could be for recruiters, could be for anyone at work, job seekers. Like what are you excited about right now?
I think it's finding this balance of AI and humans, and how we do our jobs better, how we use AI to augment and improve our processes. And fighting fraud, I think, is the big one at the moment. And that's what everyone's looking at. Is like there's tools, I can't remember what it's called, but there's this new who was it? I think it was a student that got kicked out of Columbus because they built this new platform that could not be identified. So when you're on a video screen, they can run it in the background and no tool in the world can pick it up and be answering their interviews and it's totally undetectable.
Well, I've seen like the tool like Final Round AI, right? Like I don't know if you've seen that one where it's like you're interviewing and it's got like an interview guide with you and it's kind of guiding you through how to answer all the questions. So it sounds like something similar to that maybe just can't be tracked.
Yeah, it's that, but it can't be detected. And so you can be running your code and screen live, and you've got a pop-up screen that's telling you how to answer those questions. And it can't be detected. And like that was 8 weeks ago. No, maybe 3-4 months ago. And then it was like a month later, we create problems are like, yeah, actually we can detect that now. And suddenly it's like they built a new product called Shirt. Yeah. Oh, you couldn't be detected. Actually, this is how you detect that. And suddenly it's like, okay, so now it's back to the applicants again. How are you going to get around this next time? But yeah, so that's something that's interested me. And I've looked at WeCP and it's quite a cool tool, and Glider and a few other products that are like, yeah, they're authenticating users sort of throughout the entire process. It's like if you're doing a Glider interview, you have to go on and show your ID, and the AI checks that the face on your driver's license is the face on screen. And then you conduct 4 interviews throughout the process. And at every step, it's checking that the face that's talking isn't AI and it's the same face that was on that driving license in interview 1. And so like at the end of the sort of 4 or 5 stages, it's like you're 100% certain that the person that took the interviews is the person that you're hiring. It's shame if WeCP and Glider were to work together, then you'd pretty much have an indestructible anti-fraud hiring process.
How big of, I mean, you were hiring internationally, so like how often were you running into this? And like did you see a change from kind of hiring globally from like hiring just in the US? Like is there a massive change in that? Like how often is this coming up?
Yeah, I mean, in the US with Pubmatic, it wasn't frequent. And the big part of the reason for that is we were in office 3-day a week hybrid company. So there were probably, after the space of the last 12 months, there probably had 4 or 5 cases of, we had one where there was a guy on interview sitting here like this, and then he had his buddy behind the camera out of sight, and you'd ask a question, the guy would just like lip sync, and the person behind the camera would answer. But we had one like that, and again, like the AI tools can detect that, yeah, either you've got a real bad lag here, or that person's just moving their mouth, and they kept looking above the camera, kind of to look to their friend for support, kind of thing.
That's crazy.
We had a few, and then with HighLevel, we were doing a lot more GTM hiring, and I'm finding it less sort of. It's not happening as often in GTM. It's definitely more sort of prevalent in the
tech roles.
hiring.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, GTM is go to market. So that's like what, sales, marketing, demand generation,
customer facing functions. So yeah, account management, tech ops. So that's kind of the core areas that I've been working. Operations, not necessarily technical operations, but yeah, customer support. But yeah, on the technical side, it's happening more and more frequently. So whether it's just people that are constantly looking off screen, opening extra tab browsers, copying and pasting their answers. It went from probably 4 in a year at Pubmatic to probably 1 a week, maybe more than that.
Jeez.
And the one other thing with HighLevel, it's such high volume hiring. Like you're trying to put out 100 offers a month. Trying to stay on top of that, it's far more difficult than if you're putting out 2 offers a month. You can validate it.
Yeah.
HighLevel's fully remote, so hiring in India and Philippines, and hiring for a lot of technical roles, then you're going to get a lot more fraud put in there. And it's not just the risk of hiring someone that isn't who they claim to be now. With fully remote, it's the risk of shipping a laptop and passwords to someone that is actually just a bad actor, and they had no intent of working for you and getting paid. They just want to steal your data.
Well, I saw one recently in the last couple of months where it was like somebody in North Korea. They shipped a laptop and a bunch of information to North Korea, and it was someone obviously it was someone who they didn't know it was someone in North Korea, and I'm like, I mean, that seems a little extreme to me. I'm like, how do you not know? Like, who's writing the addresses on that? But then I've heard people like they'll do the whole application and the interview, and then they'll shop the job off to like 5 or 6 other people, and so you have like one master person that's got like 10 contractors working for them. and they're like the main person who's like the face of it, but they're getting other people to do work. So it's, which to me, I'm like, that's an entrepreneur move. That's
You're
awesome.
doing the work, as long as you're doing the work and not just stealing the money and stealing the
yeah.
IP. It was a company called Know Before. So amazingly, Know Before they're a training company. They provide in-house training, online courses for companies. They teach people how to not get done by these scammers. They like how to not get done by phishing emails, how to not get caught out. And they got caught out and they went public with it. They're like, we're the best in the world. We train people on how to not get scammed. And we shipped the laptop to North Korea. Like, we got done. So it's like, we hold our hands up and say that these people are really smart. And the way they're trying to fool you is really complex and intelligent. So yeah, and we've learned from it. Yeah, well, we got done once. Now we know why, and we'll teach your company not to get scammed again.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
what about like what advice do you have for people? Because I think you mentioned it earlier, right? Like AI is coming to get us. It's coming to take our jobs. Full transparency, I'm becoming just more skeptical of this as things go along. Just because the more I have conversations with people, like the less use cases I'm seeing, and it seems like there's a lot of words and not necessarily like a lot of actions all the time. But I'm curious from like,
when I said AI is going to get us, the robots are going to take over, I was, well, half joking. I mean, there's
no, but like that's genuinely what I'm seeing from people who are not so much like within a talent space or within like a lot of the professional circles I'm in, but from people who are, just kind of like normal everyday people that I'm running into in life. Like whenever I bring up AI, it's most of the time it's people who are kind of skeptical, and it's definitely like a fearful angle, and it's usually like a, well, I don't really know anything about that. And it's just, or maybe I don't know. I could see it doing this. It's almost like there is that connotation though, where like as you dig deeper with people, it does seem to be fearful. So like, what's your advice for people? Like what do they need to be doing, or like what would you recommend doing? And just being someone who knows a lot about tools and what's out there, what's your recommendation for people?
Yeah, it's definitely to upskill. And I agree with what you're saying there, Joel. There are companies that are hiring just with AI. Was it Starbucks that hired like 1,000? I think it was Starbucks that used a fully automated scheduling and AI screening tool, and that was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
There's definitely risked jobs, but I don't think there's the elimination of recruitment as an entire kind of job category. I think we can all improve what we do with AI tools. I think scheduling and sourcing can definitely be supported. I think like you might need one sourcer instead of three sourcers. So one sourcer managing technology platform and one coordinator instead of three coordinators again. So there's definitely risk to some jobs. But ultimately, I think that companies that are invested in hiring the best people, they still need humans managing the process. Humans still buy from humans. You need humans negotiating. So I kind of think that AI tools need to be used to support AI applications. Like if we had 10 applications, I'll interview them all. If we've got 1,000, I use AI to find me the top 10 and I then use AI to schedule it. But I still believe that I need to be a part of that interview process, and so do other humans and hiring managers. And then I need to build a relationship and be able to sell to the recruiter and to the candidate, and humans buy from humans.
Yeah, selling to the hiring manager too. Like I just think about so much of our job is consulting, helping hiring managers know what's going on in the market, whether it's salaries, like even just sometimes getting over initial doubts as well and things. And, it's like I've worked with so many hiring managers that will make really quick judgments as in talent acquisition. You're wanting to walk them through like, well, why are you actually thinking this way? And I feel like a lot of the tools that are out there can free up the admin so you can spend more of that time building those relationships. And I'm sure if we had recruiters on this call right now, a lot of them would say, I wish I could get more time building relationships with hiring managers. Wish I had more time for people versus, I wish I had more time to be in my ATS moving people. No one ever says that.
For sure. But yeah, so those parts that AI can easily do, let AI do that. And dealing with the thousand of AI automated applicants, let AI filter those out and highlight the ones you need. And dealing with all of the fraud and the fake applicants, AI can do that better than me. I mean, I can sit on a video call and I can probably spot that someone's eyes are darting off screen or that they're flicking to different tabs and things like that. I might spot that, but AI can do that a lot better than I. So let the tools do that. You deal with the human parts. And but that wasn't actually your question. I don't think your question was like, what
I guess just in general, like what do you with things kind of being more fearful or like that mentality of it seems like you either have people who are super curious who just dive in, and then you have people who are like, hands off, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna leave this alone. But clearly, whether you're in recruitment, whether you're in marketing, sales, there's going to be advances in AI in whatever field you're in. So like how would you just give people advice on how to research and kind of grow in this space instead of just taking that backseat and saying, yeah, hands off?
Yeah, there's loads of free courses, and you see so many people posting these lists of free AI courses that you can take online. Worth doing. And this is probably 12 months too late now, but just go on ChatGPT or whatever LLM you like and just ask it questions and talk to it and learn. And you can just go on to ChatGPT and say, what use cases do you have for recruiters? Or I work in talent acquisition. What can AI do to make my job better or to make me more efficient or effective at my job? And just let the AI tell you. And then it'll reply and say, hey, this is 10 things you can do. And say, tell me 10 more. And then you say, well, I love the sound of using AI to schedule interviews. Tell me more about how I can do that. Just sit there and spend a couple of hours having a conversation. But I mean, ultimately, it's going to be a case of whether AI does push recruiters out of jobs or whether it augments us and makes us all better. You need to be learning the technology and learning how to use it successfully. So investing time 12 months ago would have been great, but if you haven't done that yet, then you probably need to start doing it right away. And just go on to Coursera, go on to Google and just Google, there's lots of free of charge introductions to LLMs, introductions to AI, and just do a few courses and see what you can learn from it.
I love it. I feel like with anything, you're never too late. You just have to, it's, if you keep on delaying, then yeah, eventually you're going to be too late. But, I feel like even with like creating content on LinkedIn or any of these other platforms, like I have so many people who tell me, oh, it's too late. I'm like, no, it's just start now. Like if you're feeling like you need to start. And it's the same with AI as well. One thing before we go, you had mentioned that you're potentially going to be doing some more events. Now, are they all in the Bay Area? Are you taking this like across the country? Like, how can people get involved in the events that you're hosting?
Yeah, well, that's it wasn't the plan. I was about to say that's the plan, but it was never the plan until a couple of vendors started asking. So I was in LA last week with Faster AI. So that was cool. Yeah, went and hung out with some friends down there. And then I'm talking about, I've got one of the companies, WeCP. They've come to us and said about sponsoring possibly a series of events. So I kind of suggested, hey, well, why don't we look at LA, Austin, and New York as starting points and
nice
figure out where we go from there. So that was, I posted on LinkedIn about, hey, looking for people like yourself, Joel, and I've lost it.
Chicago, man, you got to come to Chicago. That's where
I know. Yeah, it's like, hey, if I come to Chicago, do you want to partner? And as I say, I'm not trying to make this isn't a retirement plan, unfortunately. There's not enough money in it. If people are willing to pay that amount of money to host events, then someone else will be doing it already. But yeah, this is the way about building a community and getting people involved. So that's why I suggested it's like $1,500. I can put some of that towards the local person who helped organize it, some of it to help the and some of it to pay the tax that's going to come with running these events.
I love that, man.
I'll think about finding anyone that wants to do Chicago, because it'd be awesome to come out there and host a meet up with you.
Yeah. Well, look, where can people connect with you? Where can people, find out more about events that you're hosting? What's the best place that people can find out more about you?
Just LinkedIn. LinkedIn, Glenn Lindley. There's two of us. I mean, the other guy's holding a fish. That's not me.
Well, yeah, you got an epic LinkedIn photo as well. So Glenn, I appreciate your time and so much value here. I think we're in a really interesting time as it is, like whether you're on the job search, whether you're currently working. I know there's just so much uncertainty for everybody right now. It feels like it's been like that for years. And I was talking to someone in the last episode. I can't believe it's 5 years since COVID, but it's like it's just like time is this vacuum right now. A lot of people wanting new jobs. Either they're laid off or they're struggling in their current job. So I just think having that value around how to network, how to build relationships is massive. I appreciate your time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to give this value. Are we gonna be able to connect in real life soon too? I'd love to know like where you're gonna be in the next couple months. If you've got any events on on your radar in the next couple months.
I'll hopefully be Unleash, possibly just for a date good for an overnight. So yeah, we'll definitely catch you at that one. And then I'll see if one of the sponsors will pay for an event in Chicago, and
love it.
Get out there. That'd be awesome.
Well, guys, if you made it to the end of the episode, thank you so much for sticking with us. I will be back next week with another guest. And as always, if you go to connect with Glenn on LinkedIn, just tell him you heard about him on the podcast, and then also be patient because he's not hanging out on LinkedIn all day like me. Although maybe you are right now. I don't know.
It's a good 6 to 8 hours a day, I'd say.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. And thank you everybody for listening in. And we'll be back next week. See you guys.